Welcome back, people. It's now a few days later. I ran into a bit of a mishap because I ordered the wrong water pump. Now, at least, I have the correct pump with the correct gasket. This is the pump. Also, went ahead and bought the OE sealant for the rear cover and front cover also, obviously. Just to be on the safe side, I'm going to apply a really thin coat of silicone sealant on this, because in order to reseal this, if it isn't sealed right away, you have to remove all of this again. Also, to make sure that all of these O-rings here are going to stay in place, I'm just going to put a tab of sealant in there. That way they will stay until we get the cover on. As I said, I'm going to start with using some sealant just to hold the O-rings here, and I'm going with my cheaper option because it's not going to seal anything, it's just going to hold it. And while the present me is dabbing that sealant, the future me thought I should give you some advice. Instead of using RTV sealant like I'm doing here, I recommend that you use some sort of grease, like Vaseline or soap, to hold the O-rings in place instead. And I say this because the future me is actually from a time when this car is done. The first time. Okay, what I mean by that is that it is still leaking, and I can attribute that to one of the two things I did wrong the first time around. The first error is the one I did here. It took too long from when dabbing the sealant to when the rear timing cover went on, giving the sealant ample room to cure and become a hard bulge in which the O-ring wouldn't have a chance to seal. I will cover the second error I did when we get to that part in the video. Now, when it comes to the O-rings, there are 4 different sizes and 13 in total. Here, I'll slap your screen about which goes where. And here you can see the O-rings being held in place. And again, do not use a hardening sealant for this. Well, not unless if you're a masochist, in which case I say, power to you, my whip-loving fellow, and good luck with your second rebuild. The next step is the metal gasket for the water pump, and then we are going to move on to apply to this. There, it looks like it's a lot, but it really isn't. It's not going to dry that quickly because now we are going to apply it on this. I'm going to again use my cheap one for the water and use the Subaru sealant for everything else here. Tiny amount. Since the metal gasket is going to do all the work, this is only a precaution. The workshop manual actually says to install it dry, but I just want to be on the safe side. It's not going to hurt anything to do it like this. It's just not necessary. At this point, I felt like it was time for less talky and more worky, since the RTV has about a 5-minute window until it starts to harden. When applying the RTV, make sure you seal around the bolt holes as I'm doing here, otherwise the oil may leak through the threads. I actually used a little bit too much, but now I'm going to smear it out to get it a bit more even. Now ye just hold on a minute there, fella. You see, we have now come to the second mistake and possible reason for my leak persisting. What you see me do here, smearing that RTV out with my finger, that ain't right. Sorry, my wannabe cowboy personality decided to take a hold for a while. I wrestled him back down again. Smearing the RTV out is all well and good. On a small piece, it's even preferable. But on a big piece like this, no, definitely not. Because you run the risk of the bead having a chance to cure before you even mate it up to the mating surface, meaning you will have a leak. I even realized my mistake while doing this. Oh no, it's already starting to harden. This is not good. But dumb as I am, I continued and assembled it. Anyway, back to you, my younger self. Okay, now sadly, the battery died on me while installing the rear cover, so you missed a bit. But what I did was tighten everything up, of course, firstly and foremost, because these are one type of length. Half of these, the one with the green hue, these all the way down here, are one set of screws with which is a bit longer. And these are, of course, the shortest ones. I will put up a picture here right now so you can see the order in which to tighten and which length of bolt goes where. Now we will go ahead and install the cam sprockets. Home run, people. Well, far away, but still. Let's start with this one. And you can only fit this one way, people. You have, let me show you. You have 3 holes in here, as you can see. But the middle one here is slightly bigger than that one and that one. So you can't misalign it, even if you wanted to. The bolts are supposed to be torqued to 29.5 Newton meters. The intake is going to be angle tightened to 45 degrees and 25 degrees respectively for the exhaust cam sprockets. So yeah, let's go. Okay, now I know that I have an angle tool, but I don't have it here. So what I'm going to do is just eyeball it. I do not recommend you to do this. And that's about 25 degrees. My pro tip here, people, is this is not what you think it is if you have a dirty mind. This is soap. And soap is excellent to be a lubricant when you fit O-rings if you don't want to use oil or something. This is for the water pump. Let me show you. On the water pump, you have 2 O-rings. One which is seated in this groove here. I'm going to be using just a little bit of soap here because otherwise this can roll out of its groove and kink on the side. and then you would have a leaky water pump. And I'm going to use some on this because this is going to sit in this groove right here, down here. Another quick tip, if you order a water pump, the only O-ring that comes with it is this one. If you don't specifically say you want this one as well, the other one, they might not think of ordering it for you. So remember to say you want both of them. Without further ado, let's glue this one on with some soap. This smaller hole aligns with the smaller hole on the upside here, and the larger one here aligns with the bottom hole. So orient the text as you should orient it, and you are home free. And remember, if you have to use excessive force, then something is wrong. Come on. There. I don't know if you heard it, but it went plop, and now it is seated. And the torque for these 3 bolts is the same as most of the other bolts, which is 6.4 Newton meters. Okay, now so this idler sprocket torques to 69 Newton meters, as well as the one that goes here. You're going to start with this gold link matching up to the mark. I will show you when it's done, obviously, but matching up to the mark on the crank sprocket. Now we have a blue marker here, and I can show you this one. If you can see, this is a bit darker. It's actually blue in color. They are going to, the lower one is going to match up to this, and the top one is going to match up to the one over here. You start with a gold chain and a gold link up to the marking there. Then you route it down to the idler sprocket and up over the water pump. Let me just swap hands here. And then you come over here and you see the mark there. And then you come up here to here where you have the other blue mark. And now we mount this. And this again is torqued to 69 Newton meters. Just going to recheck this one. Yep. And another tip in case you forget which chain goes where. The left-hand side, the one we just did, has 1 gold link and 3 blue ones, while the right-hand side has, as you can see here, 2 gold links, and where is the blue one? There is the blue one. So right-hand side has more gold and left-hand side has more blue. That makes it easier to know which goes where. But now let's go with the chain guides and chain tensioner. So now you're not supposed to install the guides or sprockets dry. So I'm going to take a bit of oil and just lube it up a bit. Because remember people, everything is much more fun with lube. Am I right? 6.4 Newton meters on both of these. And now for the last little guide that goes between the gears on this side. There. Now we just have one more thing left, and that's the guide that's here in the center. And that one is supposed to be torqued to 7.8 Newton meters. And that's this little fella here. Now, and before you snug this down, you have to measure a clearance between these two guide plates of 8.4 to 8.6 millimeters. If I'm wrong, if my memory is wrong, I will post it up here on the screen right now, the correct measurement. So I'm going to measure that first, and then I'm going to torque it down. Let's see here. I have 8.4 millimeters. I just don't want it precisely that snug, so let's see if I got a little bit more now. Now I have 8.45 or 8.5 millimeters, so that's good. Now we can torque it down. I'm going to measure again, of course, after I have torqued it, just to be on the safe side. So 7.8 Newton meters. There, and that's all of it done. Now we're going to recheck the marks on everything before we pull the pins. So, as you can see here, that one lines up. And wait, where are you? These two lines up. It's hard to see, but blue on blue. And here you can see blue on mark and blue on mark. And to go to the other side, again you saw the blue on blue down there. Here we have gold, and here we have gold. Yeah. So everything is lined up. Now we can pull the pins. So there. Now it's time for the valve cover. No, sorry. Front timing chain cover. Now, before we move on to the outer timing chain cover, remember to lubricate the sprockets and splurge some more on the chain guides while you're at it. You know, just for some good measure. Alright then, I will just go ahead and unpause the video for you. You're welcome. I went ahead and cleaned the outer cover. So, this is how it looks like now. Now it isn't completely clean because, frankly, I couldn't find anything here that would bite on this. So I thought that I would just go ahead and go to the next step, which is to clean all this oxidization up. As you can see, it's rather sad looking. Now I'm not going to go for a perfect finish. I am simply going to brush it. So let's start brushing it. Now before I tell you what I have done, and this is post me doing the work, before you do the next procedure, remember to wear eye protection, mouth protection, and ear protection. Now I didn't because I'm stupid. Don't take after me. It's a bit of a harsh light here, but it's not perfect, definitely not perfect. And again, I'm not striving for that. I just wanted this to look a little bit nicer. Anyway, there are some spots that still has a little gunk left and a little oxidation left, but I think this looks a million times better than it did. Next step, clean it on the inside and a quick rub down on the outside, and degrease the contact patch where the RTV is going to go, and then we will squirt some of said stuff out and bolt it in place. Safe to say, I'm also going to blow this out with compressed air after I've done this. So I know it will be completely spotless. Okay. And now for the rim job. Wait, what? Alright, so now we have come to it at last. It's time to seal. Let's begin. Now, in what order do I want to do this? By the way, the workshop manual says to have a 2.5 millimeter thick bead, plus minus 0.5 millimeters. Ah, the bliss of ignorance. Strangely enough, despite the front cover having a large area requiring sealant, and me being ignorant and repeating mistake number 2, it has not leaked a single minuscule drop of oil. Hey, I'll take it. I managed to seal something anyway, just not the area I set out to do. Alright, I bet you know what it's time for now. It's time for me to slap your screen again.
Hiya!
Okay, so what I did first here, I mounted it up, bashed it into place gently, and then I just took a few bolts just to square it in and let the RTV squish out. Now the time has come to torque it, and all of these bolts are going to be torqued to 6.6 Newton meters. And in the correct order, which I'm going to show on the screen right now. Now this bolt here is supposed to have this, oh crap, it should have this little washer. As you can see, it has a rubber seal on it. Alright then, so now that we have this all buttoned up and done, it's time for the seal to go in. Now, and before I try to smash this in, I'm just going to lightly coat it with a bit of soap I have in this little cup, both on the inside and outside, just to make it go in easier. As I stated before, the soap won't affect anything and it will dissolve in the oil. And I intend to change the oil after about 500 kilometers or so anyway, just in case I got any contaminants. I might even do it earlier, but yeah, I just don't want to kink this because that would suck. God damn it. I dropped it. And as we all know, dropping the soap is bad. Okay, now it's flush with the metal. Now we can bolt up this, the harmonic balancer or whatever you want to call it. And since this notch goes in here, I'm just going to put a little bit of soap on this, just in case the soap already has dried within the seal. Now when you're installing the crank pulley bolt, you're going to want to apply engine oil to the seat here, as you can see here. And then this torques to 178 Newton meters. And Subaru wants you to use a special tool in order to tighten it up, but we're not going to do that. I was actually worried about slipping since I used the threads and not the bolt heads. But we did it! So make yourself this tool. It can be used for 3 different Subaru tools. This is much better, I must say. This cost me about nada. And remember people, always reset your torque wrench when you're done. Otherwise, the spring won't be correctly calibrated because it will lose its tension. Now, the bolts for the little cover that goes here is supposed to be torqued to 6.4 Newton meters. Okay, so because someone who shall not be named but could have a nickname in the range of Freddy, Fritjof, Fred, who's a bit dumb anyway, did not buy all of the parts needed. So here you can see you have a tensioner and an idler. And the stupid person who shall not be named only bought the tensioner. So the stupid person has to go and buy the idler. I'm going to put this in place, and then I'm going to have to, oh shit, I just admitted to you guys it was me. Anyway, I'm just going to put it together because it's like 5 minutes worth of time to swap it. I could not actually find any torque specs for this, but just tighten it with common sense. Don't just use Hulk smash force because it's not going to end well. Like so. And now for the idler. I don't know if you can hear this, but listen. Can you hear it? That's the sound of a bad bearing. Not completely shot. This is even worse. This is the one that feels notchy. This was the idler. Yeah, this is not going on the car again, even if it's just for a few kilometers. So, the first one it is. Oh, can you hear it? I'm sad to say that this is it for the reassembly of my legacy. The bloody hard drive that I mentioned in a previous episode strikes again. All of the remaining footage I had for this episode is lost to the void. Rest assured that the Subaru is running and driving again despite the aforementioned persisting oil leak. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider giving it a thumbs up. It would really help my channel out. And if cars is your wheelhouse, which I bet it is since you stayed this long, then subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon. That way you can follow along on my different project cars. How does a TDI swapped Caddy Mark 1 sound? No? More of a petrolhead then? Don't worry, I got you covered with my V6 turbo conversion KE70 project car that will be coming up shortly. Alright, I will see you in the next one.